You've been breaking the Lord's Prayer every single time you recite it, and you didn't even know it. Jesus explicitly forbade mindless repetition in prayer. He warned against it. He said, "Don't do it. Don't pile up empty words thinking you'll be heard because you said more." And then, immediately after that warning, in the very next breath, he gave us something the entire world has been repeating for 2,000 years. Either Jesus contradicted himself in the span of 3 verses, or we've been using it wrong for centuries. And I don't think Jesus was confused. Here's what I mean. If I give you directions to my house, you could memorize those directions word for word. You could recite them perfectly every single day for the rest of your life. But you still wouldn't be at my house. You'd just know how to describe the route. You'd know the street names, the landmarks, the turns. But your feet would never touch my doorstep. That's exactly what we've done with the Lord's Prayer. We've memorized the directions. We've recited them beautifully, reverently, for generations. But we've never actually walked the path. We never took a single step. If you've ever prayed and felt like nothing changed, don't skip ahead. Stay with me here. Because what I'm about to show you isn't theory. It's not theology. It's the actual mechanism. And if anything I say in the next few minutes hits you, hits something real inside you, subscribe. Not for me, not for the algorithm, but so you don't slip back into the old understanding, so you don't forget what you're about to hear. You don't need to comment right now, but if at any point during this, something clicks, something aligns inside you, just leave a dot, just a period. That's it. That's enough. I'll know. You'll know. Let's go back to Matthew chapter 6, because this is where everyone gets it wrong. They read verses 9 through 13, pull out the Lord's Prayer, frame it, memorize it, teach it to their children, and completely ignore everything Jesus said right before it. Matthew 6 is one continuous teaching. It's not separate ideas thrown together by an editor. Jesus is building a single framework about how the inner life actually works. And he keeps hammering the same points over and over, like he knows we're going to miss it. Don't perform your spirituality. Don't pray to be seen. Don't stand on street corners making a show of your devotion. And then this. Don't use empty repetitions like the pagans do, piling up words, thinking you'll be heard because of your many words. He uses the Greek word batalogeo. It means vain repetition. Mechanical speaking, words without consciousness behind them, noise without presence. And he says clearly, explicitly, don't do that. Your Father knows what you need before you ask. Then, immediately, right after that, he says, pray like this. Not pray this, like this. Those 2 words change absolutely everything, because if he meant for us to repeat those exact words over and over, verbatim, he would have just contradicted himself in the same breath. And Jesus didn't contradict himself. We just stopped paying attention. Pray like this. Like this is a pattern, a structure, a sequence of internal operations. It's showing you how prayer actually functions, not giving you a script to memorize and repeat until you die. When you see it that way, everything shifts. The Lord's Prayer isn't a petition you recite hoping God hears you. It's an instruction manual for realigning your entire consciousness with reality. And if you don't run the operations in sequence, in order, with full presence, the whole thing collapses. So here's what the Lord's Prayer actually is. It's not a request. It's not a plea. It's not begging. It's a sequence, a protocol. Each line is an operation, a step in a process. And if you skip a step, or run it unconsciously, or recite it while thinking about your grocery list, the chain breaks. The Lord's Prayer is 7 operations that recalibrate your identity, your awareness, and your alignment with reality itself. Each one builds on the last. Each one unlocks the next. And if you miss even one, everything after it reinforces the wrong foundation. You're building on sand. Most people recite it and wonder why nothing changes, why their life looks the same, why they feel the same anxiety, the same emptiness, the same distance from anything real. It's because they're reading the instruction manual out loud instead of following the instructions. They're describing the path instead of walking it. They're admiring the map instead of taking the journey. And here's the critical part. Every operation has a failure mode, a way you can recite the words perfectly, with beautiful pronunciation and reverence, but miss the function entirely. And when that happens, you don't just stay stuck. You actively reinforce the problem you're trying to solve. You dig the hole deeper while praying to get out of it. Let me show you what I mean. Our Father who art in heaven. This isn't a greeting. It's not a polite way to start a conversation with God. This is a complete reorientation of your identity before you do anything else. Most people read this and think God is my Father. He's up in heaven. Got it. Moving on. But that's not what's happening here. This is a foundational shift in who you understand yourself to be. And if you skip it, everything else malfunctions. You're not a servant asking for something. You're not a beggar hoping for favor. You're not a sinner crawling to a judge. You're offspring. You're family. There's a relationship, an inheritance, a belonging that precedes any request. And if you don't feel that shift, if you don't embody that before you move to the next line, you're praying from the wrong place. You're praying as the wrong person. Think about it like this. If you approach your own father as a stranger on the street, asking for spare change, the entire dynamic is broken. You're family. You don't beg. You belong. And until you stand in that, nothing else works right. Heaven isn't a location. It's not a place up in the clouds where God sits on a throne. Heaven is a state of consciousness. It's elevated awareness. It's the place where you see clearly, where truth is undistorted, where fear doesn't bend perception. And you're being told your source, your origin, your Father, exists in that state. Not in confusion, not in fear, not in the chaos you're probably experiencing. The failure mode here is rushing past it. Most people say Our Father who art in heaven and immediately move on, and they never actually shift their identity. They stay in the role of supplicant, of someone outside asking in, of someone unworthy hoping to be heard. And if your identity doesn't shift in line 1, nothing else works right. The entire sequence collapses before it even starts. Hallowed be thy name. This is not praise. It's not flattery. It's not telling God how great he is, so he'll be more inclined to help you. The word hallowed comes from the Greek hagiazo, which means to separate, to set apart, to make distinct. This operation is about distinction. You're creating a boundary in your awareness between what is sacred and what is noise, between what is true and what is fear, between the voice of clarity and the voice of chaos that runs in your head 24/7. If you don't make that distinction, if you can't separate signal from static, your mind stays flooded. You can't hear anything real because you're listening to everything at once. This is why Jesus says the name. Not just God in general, not just a vague spiritual energy, the name. Because a name represents identity, nature, essence. You're isolating the frequency, you're tuning in. Imagine trying to have a conversation in a room where 10 radios are playing different stations at full volume. You can't. You have to turn off the noise. You have to isolate the one voice that matters. That's what this line does. It creates the space for clarity. The failure mode is skipping this entirely and staying in mental chaos. You say the words, but your mind is still running 10 different narratives, still blending truth with anxiety, still mixing what you know with what you fear, still letting every intrusive thought have equal weight. And if you can't distinguish, if you can't separate what's sacred from what's noise, you can't move forward. You're just praying into the chaos. Thy kingdom come. This is not a request. This is not asking God to bring his kingdom someday in the future when things get better. This is a command to your own awareness. The Greek word is eltheto. It's imperative. It's immediate. It means let it come now. Let it be present now. The kingdom is not a future event. It's a present reality you're not seeing yet. Jesus said the kingdom of God is within you. Not will be, not might be someday if you're good enough. Is. Right now. It's already here. You're just not perceiving it. And this operation forces the shift from waiting to recognizing. Most people treat this line like a wish, like, wouldn't it be nice if God's kingdom came and fixed everything? But that's not what's happening. This is you commanding your own awareness to recognize what's already present. It's like standing in a dark room flipping the light switch. The room didn't change, the walls didn't move, but now you can see. The failure mode is thinking, this is about later. Thinking the kingdom comes after you die, or after the world gets fixed, or after you become good enough, or after society collapses and Jesus returns. That belief pushes the kingdom away from you with every repetition. It externalizes what's internal. It makes you wait for something that's already here. And if you're praying for something in the future, you're unconsciously declaring it's not here now. You're reinforcing absence instead of presence. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. This is not surrender. It's not resignation. It's not giving up your will and hoping God takes over and does everything for you. The Greek word for will is thelema. It means intention, purpose, organizing principle. In heaven, in elevated consciousness, there's a structure, an order, a way things actually work. There are principles, laws, patterns, and this operation is about aligning your external reality with that internal truth. As in heaven, so on earth. Internal becomes external. The pattern above manifests below. What you know in clarity becomes what you do in action. You're synchronizing the two. This is active, not passive. It's not whatever happens, I guess that was God's will. That's victim consciousness. That's spiritual bypassing. That's abdicating responsibility for your own alignment and blaming God for outcomes. Real alignment is recognizing the principle and embodying it. It's making your actions match your awareness. It's living in coherence. When you know the truth in elevated consciousness, but act out of fear in your daily life, you're fragmented. You're split. You're a walking contradiction. And this line is the operation that closes that gap. The failure mode is misunderstanding this as passivity. Thinking it means you have no agency, no choice, no power. Thinking it means just let go and let God. But that keeps you stuck in a childish spirituality where you're always waiting for someone else to act. And if you misunderstand this line, you stay split. You stay fragmented. You stay contradicted. Give us this day our daily bread. This is not about food. It's not about money. It's not about asking God to make sure you have enough in your bank account or enough groceries in your fridge. Bread is what sustains you, yes. But the operation is about what actually sustains consciousness. Truth sustains you. Clarity sustains you. Connection sustains you. Not survival mode. Not accumulation. Not the endless grasping for security. This day. Not tomorrow. Not next year. Not for the rest of your life. This moment. What you need to stay conscious right now. What you need to remain present. Not what you need to feel secure for the next decade. There's a reason it says daily bread, not lifetime supply. Because the operation resets every day. It's not about hoarding, it's about presence. It's about recognizing that in this moment, you have what you need. And this moment is all there is. The failure mode is thinking, this is a request for material things, for enough resources, for financial stability, for insurance against future lack. And when you think that way, you trap yourself in scarcity consciousness. You reinforce the belief that you don't have enough, that you need more, that sustenance is outside you, that you're always one disaster away from collapse. and that belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The operation is recognizing you have what you need for this moment, and if you're conscious, that's always true. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. This is the most misunderstood line in the entire prayer, because we think debts mean sins, and forgiveness means moral absolution, like God is keeping a ledger of your mistakes, and you're asking Him to erase it. But that's not what's happening here. A debt is a ledger. It's a record you're keeping. It's the psychological weight of unresolved accounts, things you owe, things owed to you, grudges, resentments, guilt, shame. The running tally of who hurt who and who owes what. And it goes both ways, the debts you owe and the debts owed to you. Forgiveness in this context is release. It's closing the ledger. It's stopping the internal accounting system that keeps you anchored to the past. You're no longer defining yourself by what was done to you or by what you did wrong. You're erasing the tally. You're clearing the books. And the second half is the key. As we forgive our debtors, not after, not if, as, simultaneously, at the same time. You can't release your own weight without releasing theirs, because the ledger is one system. If you're still holding them accountable, you're still holding yourself accountable. If the books are still open for them, they're still open for you. You can't close one side without closing the other. The failure mode is thinking you can receive forgiveness without giving it. Or thinking forgiveness means excusing harm, condoning abuse, pretending it didn't happen. It doesn't. Forgiveness doesn't mean what they did was okay. It means I'm no longer using this to define myself or you. I'm no longer carrying this weight. I'm no longer letting this unresolved account run my life. I'm closing the file. Not because they deserve it, but because I'm done being defined by it. If you don't release the ledger, you stay stuck in the past. You stay anchored to old narratives, and everything after this operation collapses because you're still carrying weight that makes the next step impossible. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. This is the seal, the final protection on the entire sequence. And it's not asking God to keep you away from bad situations or to make sure you don't mess up. Temptation in Greek is perasmos. It means a trial, a test of perception. It's not about resisting cookies or staying away from sin. It's about maintaining clarity when your perception is challenged, when circumstances try to pull you back into old patterns, when fear tries to distort what you just established. Evil is poneros. It means corrupt, distorted, out of alignment, twisted. It's not a demonic force. It's a state of being bent, pulled off frequency, knocked out of coherence. So this operation is don't let my awareness be pulled into testing mode. Don't let me get distorted. Don't let circumstances collapse what I just built. Keep the sequence intact. This is a declaration. I've run the protocol. I've realigned. I'm coherent. Nothing can distort what I've just established. The sequence is locked. The failure mode is thinking you're weak and need protection from external forces, thinking you're vulnerable and fragile and constantly at risk. That belief collapses the whole chain. Because if you believe you're vulnerable, you are. You've just unsealed the operation. You've declared yourself defenseless. And the sequence falls apart. This is a declaration of strength, not a plea for protection. I'm sealed. I'm aligned. I'm coherent. And I'm staying here. I've recited the Lord's Prayer hundreds of times, maybe thousands, and nothing ever changed. I felt nothing. It was just words I said before meals, or before bed, or in church on Sunday. Empty repetition, muscle memory. Until one day, I stopped at the first line. I didn't move forward. I stayed there. Our Father. And I waited. I waited until I actually felt the shift, until I wasn't asking as a servant, until I wasn't begging as someone outside, until I was standing in it, standing as offspring. And that was the first time in my life I understood. I wasn't reciting a prayer. I was running an operation. And it worked. I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm asking you to test it yourself. Here's what happened. Somewhere along the way, the church realized something. Instructions don't scale. You can't give 2 billion people a personalized operating system and expect them all to run it correctly. It requires presence. It requires consciousness. It requires actually doing the work. But rituals scale. Repetition scales. Performance scales. If you turn the instruction into a ritual, everyone can do it. Everyone can recite the same words at the same time and feel unified. So they made a choice. Protocol became ceremony. Living practice became performance. Direct experience became tradition. Presence became recitation. And listen, I'm not saying ritual is wrong. Ritual serves a function. It creates continuity. It builds community. It preserves form across generations. But when ritual replaces the instruction, when the repetition becomes the point, when the performance becomes more important than the function, you lose the operation. The church preserved the words, but lost the function. And that's why millions of people can recite the Lord's Prayer perfectly, with beautiful diction and reverence, and still feel completely disconnected, still feel like their prayers go nowhere, still feel like nothing changes, because they're performing instead of operating, they're reciting instead of running. Here's the most important thing I can tell you. If anything I'm saying right now replaces your direct experience, throw it out. I'm not here to give you a new belief system. I'm not here to replace one dogma with another. I'm here to point you back to the instruction. And the instruction only works if you run it yourself, if you test it, if you stop reciting and start operating. People don't fail at prayer because God is silent. They fail because they never stopped long enough to listen. They never paused long enough to feel the shift. They recited the directions, but never walked the path. They read the instruction manual, but never followed the instructions. So here's what I want you to do. Tonight, alone, in silence. Don't recite the Lord's Prayer. Run it. Start with the first line and don't move forward until you feel the identity shift. Until you're not asking as a beggar, but standing as offspring. Stay there as long as it takes. 30 seconds, 5 minutes, an hour. However long it takes for the shift to happen. Then move to the second operation. Make the distinction. Separate the signal from the noise. Isolate the frequency. Feel the clarity before you move on. And keep going. One operation at a time. Don't rush. Don't perform. Don't recite. Just run the sequence and see what happens. Because here's the truth nobody told you. You were never given a prayer to repeat. You were given a sequence to execute, a protocol to run, a system for realigning your consciousness with reality. And it only works if you stop reciting and start doing. The instruction is complete. It's always been complete. It was never broken. We just forgot how to read it. We mistook the map for the territory. We memorized the directions and called it arrival. But now you know. Now you know the difference between reciting and running, between describing and doing, between words and operations, and you can't unknow it. So the only question left is, will you keep reciting, or will you finally start running?